when I'm not starting off 2020 by promising to journal 20 minutes every single day, I like to answer questions that I get on YouTube, so let's get to it. Just curious if you've given any thought on which key will be the official key of 2020. Alright, so the people's key is the key of G. I do a lot of song lessons and stuff in the key of G. Understandably, people are kind of getting tired of it, even though it is the people's key. 2019, I tried to make the key of F the key of 2019, so I did more lessons in the key of F. As for 2020, we have two options. I personally think the key of D should be the key of 2020. All right? It's not crazy. There's only two sharps. Our fake piano playing brethren can still get down with us. The other one I was thinking of is maybe B flat. Now, I think B flat might scare a lot of people off, but it's going to be either D or B flat. So please, let this be like a poll. Let me know in the comments what's going to win out, whether the key of 2020 is going to be the key of D or the key of B flat. I'm leaning towards the key of D right now, just because it probably is a little more prevalent. But and the key of D minor specifically was the key of the Emeryld Ryders. But leaning towards the key of D, I'm open to B flat. One of the two, let me know what you think. How do I learn new shapes on the guitar? I know caged, but I see you doing a lot of shapes. How do I build this up? Great question. This is one of the things that I had probably the most trouble with, is like, how do I memorize all these different like chord voicings and stuff? Which is why one of the very first videos I ever made that kind of launched my YouTube guitar career was learn 100 chords in like less than 8 minutes, which essentially is just talking about learning a new shape, whether it's like, let's say it's a minor 11 shape, right? So you learn A minor 11, where your middle finger's on the 5th fret of the low E string, you skip the A string, your ring finger is 5D, pinky is 5G, pointer finger is 3B, which A minor 11, any minor 11 chord is so underutilized. Anytime I'm playing these shows, every minor chord kind of becomes a minor 11 chord. But basically, you learn one shape, right? And then you just start moving it around, and since there's 12 different notes, you learn 12 new chords with learning a new shape. So learn one shape at a time, even if it's just like one a week. You know, you can do the whole New Year's thing where it's like, I'm going to learn a new chord voicing every single day. And then you learn 3 new chord voicings, and then January 4th, you just kind of like go back to practicing the pentatonic scale mindlessly, which is totally fine. But maybe make it so you learn a new chord every week, just a chord voicing, and then start thinking in root notes. Again, I've said this a lot of times, where if you just memorize the first 7 frets on the lowest 2 strings, so you know that open E, F, F sharp G, G sharp A sharp B, or B flat, and then the A string is A sharp, B, C sharp D, D sharp B. Force yourself to memorize just that. Anybody can do that. Quit screwing around. If you don't know that, just do that. And then don't do anything else this year until you memorize the first 7 frets of the lowest 2 strings. And then start taking different chord voicings and then moving them around, finding songs where it's either a major or minor chord, and then substituting major and minor chords for different shapes. So anytime you see an A minor in a song, play it as A minor 11, until that muscle memory really gets to the point where you don't have to think about it so much. Anytime you see a B minor, play it as B minor 11. Or another really cool one to do would be maybe like a major 9 chord. I think major 9 chords are something that are useful, that you can kind of plug and play in for most major chords in a key, as long as it's not the 5 chord, but whatever. So like D major 9, for instance. Just have like middle finger on the 5th fret, the D on the A string, which you already, I'm sure you paused this video to learn that. A sharp, B, C sharp, D. So there's your root note, your major 3rd. A lot of these are going to be the same kind of like structure, where it's like, all right, well, here's my root note, here's the major class of it. Pointer finger goes on the 4th fret of the D string to make it a major chord. Your ring finger is going to get the 6th fret on the G string, which makes it like a major 7 chord. But if you take your pinky and do that instead, and then add your ring finger to the 5th fret of the B string, then you get a D major 9. So you're kind of building on it. That's why I like when you use your ring finger first. It's like, all right, this is like a major 7 chord voicing that I can move around. Then maybe, all right, next week, next day, whatever your interval of learning is going to be, let's expand upon that and make that a major 9 chord. It's like, all right, now I have this. I'm going to replace just a bunch of major chords that I find in songs, right? So let's say you have a chord progression that's like something like C major to A minor to E minor. Tons of songs use this, and this is something that I really kind of started thinking about when I started doing these live shows where, again, I'm a little tired today. Last night we played like a 5-hour set on New Year's, and we played 130 songs probably last night, me and Kindred. So a lot of these are kind of like pop-ish songs too, which use the same chords. So to keep myself interested, I started just doing this, and eventually it has bled into my playing and teaching. So if we have a song that's just C major to A minor to E minor, right? Which like Bellyache by Billie Eilish is that exact same thing, right? Instead of playing C major, I'll start playing C major 9 to A minor 11, maybe regular E minor the first time, and then like E minor 7 the second time. And that's all by just learning a shape and then tracking it, starting at the root, finding the next root note, applying a different shape. Maybe it doesn't have, maybe it could be a different type of minor chord. Maybe it could even be like a minor 6 chord. And then just kind of experimenting. And then eventually, you're going to start finding the chords that you like, and then you end up developing a voice on guitar. And this is exactly how I feel like I found my voice on guitar, just by starting to substitute different chord voicings onto traditional chords in kind of easy songs that everybody knows that you probably already know, right? There's a million songs that you know already that has like, you know, a C major or a G major and an A minor. Start taking any kind of major minor, whether it's major 9, major 6, major 13, like dominant 13 chords, stuff like that. They're super easy to find. I've got tons of videos on just like different class chords and how to like use different voicings. And then start substituting those triad, those basic versions of it, to kind of make different things. Now, sometimes it's going to sound really cool, sometimes it won't sound as good, but that is all part of the process of finding your own voice on guitar, and something that you should be shooting to do for your practice this year.
Dude, explanations are obviously not your strong point. Most of the explanations about DAGAD tuning are also not too complete. I'm sorry to say that, but the effort for your tutorial was in vain.
The efforts for my tutorial that has 1 million views have totally been in vain. Really sorry that he feels that way, but I guess I'll just try better next time. In vain. It's like Saving Private Ryan. Stakes are high. Efforts were in vain. Merry Christmas, Sean. Your master classes were epic. A redux of the classical Kyle would be nice if you two decide to put another round in. Cheers. So thank you for anybody who bought any of the master classes. Now the one with Kyle is a fingerstyle class, which the thing about promoting these classes is like usually I'll do videos that kind of like, you know, talk about it and then teach a little bit of it. The classical Kyle one, which again, it's not classical guitar, but it is just kind of like an intro to like fingerstyle that goes from like beginner to intermediate, semi-advanced. That one sold terribly. And I think a lot of that wasn't necessarily because people weren't interested, but for whatever reason, the videos that I made just didn't really get promoted by YouTube that much. So I'm going to make the finger picking class super cheap. I'll make it like half off of the lowest price it's ever been, which I think is going to end up being like $15 or something like that. So again, whenever I make a coupon for Udemy, which is the website that hosts the classes, it's only good for 5 days, which absolutely sucks, which is why the next class I end up making, whatever that's going to be, is probably going to be on a different site, potentially. But yeah, if you want to pick up that, I'm making it super cheap just to kind of get people to check it out, because I think it really is one of the best classes that we've done, because Kyle is like actually like the man, and he's a legit professor of fingerstyle guitar. So check that out if you're interested. Link in the description. Guys, you're off the mark on the album of the year, hands down the Emeryld Ryders debut album. So this is where me and Justin revealed our winners for album of the year, artist of the year, song of the year, solo of the year, gear of the year in the video from the other day. And obviously, yes, Emeryld Ryders, my Celtic band, is the obvious choice for album of the year, but I just didn't quite feel right about saying that on my own video. So I'm glad that a lot of the commenters took the time to do that for me. I appreciate it. 2000s hip hop ruined Kashmir for me. So this is when I was talking about Kashmir versus Immigrant Song on the QA last week. Kashmir, one of the great Zeppelin songs of all time. And yes, Puff Daddy, I think was his name at the time, used Kashmir in one of his songs, kind of like as a sample, and a lot of people took issue to that. Now, I'm going to take the other side of that, because that was the first time I ever actually heard Kashmir. And seeing him perform that on Saturday Night Live, I remember I was like, this is awesome. I think Jimmy Page was actually in the performance at that time. I was like, this is awesome. And that video actually is one of the first things that got me into Led Zeppelin. So even though the remix, a lot of people don't like it, I think we take for granted how maybe current artists sampling older stuff really affects a new generation listening to music and getting into like artists that they never normally would have heard and kind of keeping that music alive. So it did not ruin it. It actually enhanced it and lengthened the longevity of the Led Zeppelin reign. Sean's voice is like that of the Joker in The Dark Knight. I don't really know. I'm going to file this under comments that I guess are kind of cool that I don't totally agree with the many comments that also tell me I look like Antonio Banderas. But even though I don't totally see it, I'm happy that somebody pointed it out. I'm considering on getting that Orangewood Sage guitar. Be honest, is it really that good of a guitar, or is there better stuff out there for that price range? Okay, so this is the Orangewood Sage. And again, full disclosure, they sent me this guitar. They didn't pay me anything or continually pay me actual money to use it, but I did get this guitar for free. I'm a huge fan of it. You see it in a lot of videos. This is 100% the guitar that I go to when recording acoustic guitar for any of my projects. I'll say that between this and my other main acoustic being the Taylor GA3, if I just had to have one to record like just an acoustic guitar, just a track, I think the Taylor GA3 sounds a little bit better, marginally, than the Orangewood Sage. But in a mix with other instruments, anything else, even a vocal, I feel like the Sage kind of sits better just the way that it sounds. So I did a shootout with the two, and I think that the difference is negligible. So far, I've had nothing but awesome experiences with the Orangewood Sage for like $649, I think is what it goes for. I think it's the best in class for a new guitar at $650. I say that, full disclosure, I'm not getting paid anything. I just got sent this for free. Give it my full endorsement. Now, I've had it for less than a year, so that could change, in the future. But so far, this guitar is awesome. I will say, though, that for $650, you might be able to find a used guitar that beats it. In fact, with acoustic guitars specifically, the good ones sound better as they get older. So $650 is still a good chunk of change. And if you know what you're looking for and you know how to like diagnose a guitar, looking at the used market is something that maybe you should consider. I know depending on where you live, that might not be the easiest thing to do. So again, if you don't have access to buying used or you just want to buy something new just to get something cool, 100% I totally endorse the Orangewood Sage. Great guitar. For listening homework, I'm going to throw you to some classic Wolf Alice. Love Wolf Alice, really cool indie band that has kind of evolved over the years. I personally love their earlier stuff from the My Love Is Cool album. It's probably my favorite album by them. Check that out. It's good music. If you have any questions or comments, hit me up in the comment section, Instagram, Twitter, or the website. And make sure to check out that class because, again, you got 5 days to get it for the cheapest it's ever been. Basically, we're giving it away. Other than that, hope you all have a great start to the new year, and I'll talk to y'all soon. Thanks a lot.